It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome on in, everybody. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Happy Monday to you. A lot of big news happening today. Utah State officially introducing their new football coach for the future, Bronco Mendenhall. We'll hear some of his comments that he made earlier today. May even hear some comments from Diana Sabo and Elizabeth Cantwell. Press conference was earlier today. He was formally introduced, and we get to break it all down, and talk about it. If you were there, if you listened in real time, if you've listened on our podcast feed after the fact, so I want to get your reactions to what you heard today with Bronco Mendenhall being named the next head coach for Utah State football, and some of the things that he talked about, some of the things that he wants to do and accomplish, and basically the type of thumbprint he wants to put on Utah State athletics and the university and the community at large. So, because he made that pretty clear. This is not just about a football program. This is about a community here. So we're going to get your reactions to it. You can feel free to text into the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321 to chime in. But before we get into all that, just a big thank you to Jason and JD holding down the fort while I was away. It always happens. Seems to take place. You think you find a good time in the schedule to sneak away, but there was plenty of things that happened while I was gone.
You had to have known this, like the end of the football season. Like you knew since July that there was going to be a head coach hired probably around this time. I don't know if you get an excuse this time.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. We've known really, since July and August that a coach would be named.
Haven't you been gone for like each of the last like several major events? Like, weren't you gone like when Blake was fired?
It seems like, was I? I might have been out of the office that day. I'm trying to remember why that was.
It was the middle of the summer. We were probably on vacation.
Just how it goes. Yeah, we had a lot of high school basketball going on. We had Utah State basketball continuing to win. And we can talk about that too, and we'll get into more basketball next hour. But the big news today, Bronco Mendenhall formally introduced to a full house of Aggie supporters and fans. I did find it interesting that both Cantwell and Sabo referred to people in the room as investors in Utah State athletics. I don't think I've really heard that term so much. But people, you're invested in this program. I get that, emotionally invested. You can take that one way or another. But then Sabo made it very clear that those you are investing in this program.
Like, well, they do have investors. They do have the same PR department that they're working out of.
Yeah, I just found that interesting. I've never really heard it that way. I don't know what your return on investment is other than enjoyment and watching the product on the field. But
that's the kind of thing. It's the whole language game, and I don't mean to deride it because what's wrong with doing that? There's nothing wrong.
No, it's the first time I've heard that term.
But it's like when I once worked at a Boondocks a while back, and they said refer to the customers as guests, not customers. Like if you said customers, they'd be guests.
Can't do that.
It's a language game.
Yes,
it's something they do because investor sounds a little bit better. I don't know if it's that much better than donor, like, because donor just sounds like, I'm just giving money away. Investor, it as you can imply, like you're getting a return. That's what
there's something expected with that money that you're handing over as an investor.
And they're also trying to kind of accept some accountability there. Like it creates this goodwill of you're investing. I understand that.
I need to perform based on that investment.
So again, that's the language in PR game that you kind of read into a little bit more as you go to more and more of these press conferences.
Yeah. So I mean, I just found that interesting. I'm not saying good, bad, or the other. I've never heard it that way before.
It's something it's one of those things that you pick up on and you get weirdly interested in. It's like, ooh,
yeah,
like what the intricacies of press conferences and the PR and all these other things. I don't know if any of our listeners care one bit, but it's something me and Eric pick up on.
Right. Yeah. So 435-339-0321 was something that you heard, that you picked up on, that perked your attention. Had a few comments on the text line already. We'll get to those, and we'll hear from some clips from Bronco and others. But if you want to weigh in, always love to get your reaction as well. This came in from 8968 before the show today. Well, Bronco said all the right things at the press conference. I hope he can back it up and bring years-long promised land. I felt bad. This was the first new coach press conference I couldn't go to. Let me qualify that. First one since 1966.
You mean you weren't there when they introduced Mysterious Walker as the head coach of Utah State football back in 1904? Come on, 8968.
That's a great track record there, 8968. I'm sorry you weren't able to be there.
Only missing a leg, basically, or not being able to use one, has kept 8968 from being at these press conferences.
Amazing. So on my way home from the presser, we'll get to what was said and our reactions to it. But let me just throw this out there early as well. Driving home from the presser, I was thinking, has there, in the modern era, and maybe even further back than that, has there ever been a coach at Utah State for men's basketball and football, the two premier programs, has there ever been a coach hired with as much on his resume as Bronco Mendenhall? Has there ever been a more accomplished coach hired at Utah State? It took me a long time to think about it. I think the only coach I could come up with who was remotely close would be Gary Anderson 2.0. Now, his tenure after the hiring is troubled, but to that point, I mean, Utah State has normally been, for football and men's basketball, a place where they hire up-and-coming coaches, coordinators who are getting their first coaching job, or coaches from smaller conferences, smaller schools who get a stepping stone to come here, both for football and basketball. If anybody can name a more accomplished coach who has been hired for football or men's basketball, let me know, because I can't think of one.
Yeah, or even something relatively close. Because to be honest, Blake has more than even Gary. So Gary seems to be the one who comes close, as you said. And yeah, it is a new hire, and it's also an unprecedented amount of money. They haven't even, when they bring in Danny Sprinkle and Jared Calhoun and Ryan Odom, even after some of the recent successes, they're still starting them off at $800K a year. They're still not giving the basketball coaches these big raises. But with Bronco Mendenhall,
they backed up the truck.
Yeah, $2 million. They've never been over that mark ever, not even close. I don't think the extensions they've tried to offer anybody has come close. The extension they gave to Blake moved him from, I think a little over $1 million to almost $1.5 million, which is about what he would have been making the last couple of years. And not only backing up the truck for Bronco, but also his assistants.
Yes.
If you compare what would have been the last year of Blake's tenure, and what is on the contract for the last year of Bronco's tenure, there's a $3.5 million difference in what could potentially be paid to the assistant coaches. And already in year one, it's plus $1 million, just straight up. But it's going to grow by $500,000. The allotment will grow by $500,000 every year, which it was never scheduled to grow. You get $2.5 million for all of Blake's, tenure. And that was it. Every year, $2.5 million.
Divvy it up as you can.
Yeah, and so there's this huge investment that Utah State is making into this coaching staff. So hoping that they can not only get someone who's qualified right off the bat with Bronco. With all the other coaches, it's a risk. When you hired Gary Anderson, yeah, it was a risk. Wasn't the first time. Wasn't this huge proven guy. Neither was Matt Wells. Gary Anderson 2.0 was supposed to be kind of the big name hire, kind of flop, but then you go to Blake Anderson. That was a bit of a risk coming from Arkansas State. Here, you're trying to find the sure thing. We'll see if the ceiling is there, but you're trying to bring in a guy who can settle everything down. Bronco's reputation of, having a disciplined program, having guys with, high amounts of character. Like, I think that may have appealed to Diana Sabo and Elizabeth Cantwell almost as much as his, previous coaching resume.
True. Talking about assistant coaches, there was a rumor. One of the rumors why he left Virginia was that he was wanting to use some of his own salary to benefit the assistants, and he took that, asked the athletic department if they would match that or help raise funds to increase money for his assistants, and they wouldn't. They were unwilling to meet what he felt where he wanted to go.
Got to invest in that basketball program,
right? So the question about taking care of assistants was brought up today, and this was his response about that significant level of commitment from the university at Utah State to not only take care of the head coach, but also have a significantly higher pool of resources for assistants.
A lot of times we can say with flowery speeches, et cetera, then when it comes right down to it, now what does that mean? Sometimes numbers say more. And so in this particular case, it was clear to me that this institution, this team of leaders wants increased success and want to commit to that and see the value that could bring. And that, by the way, that's not, again, just for football. That's the impact on this community, on this institution, and who these young men can become. And I view it like that.
Now, it seems like the way things are going, this isn't so much going to be money used for, like, bringing in all of the best coordinators that you can find with that money. It seems to be like he's going to bring a lot of his guys from New Mexico, a lot of whom followed him from Virginia, at least that he could bring after, a bit of a gap. So Bronco's got his guys. And I guess the trick is, if there is a ton of success, it'll be trying to keep these guys here. So you worry a little bit like, hey, you're spending $3.5 million for the same staff that you had in New Mexico, who's not spending $3.5 million on the staff. But if it works, you keep them around. Because that could be one of the biggest drains on a program is even if you keep the head coach, like what happens if you lose a bunch of your assistants? Like, that's a huge problem for some programs. Like some of the biggest programs, they can't hang on to their assistants no matter what because they keep getting, recruited by others to go up the coaching ladder. Utah State can face a similar issue. Like, can you hang on to your offensive, defensive coordinators? Can you hang on to all the position coaches that do a fantastic job? That'll kind of be the long-term key, is keeping the guys here and well paid.
Well, it appears that his offensive coordinator he had at New Mexico is already gone. He's going to Utah.
Yeah, didn't have a chance there. They're not matching. They're not matching what Utah's probably backing them up for.
No, but there was some question coming into this. It was going to be one of my questions, and he already answered it. Was assistant coaches, like how is he going to fill out his coaching staff? And as we've already kind of alluded to, he's going with guys that he's very familiar with. It appears it's an entirely new staff. No one from the previous staff is staying around, and he explained it in kind of a unique way why that is.
I've united a staff, or I put together a staff, almost all of which who have played for me. That's atypical in college football. 15 of my staff members have history with me as their head coach. University of Iowa, I think, has 3, maybe 4. Many don't take this approach, but when you ask as much, when the vision is this clear, when it's atypical in the direction of college football with what's required, it's usually not for everyone. I do think it is for Utah State University. I think it's for the state of Utah. I think it's for Logan. I think it's for this institution. And I think it's for college athletics. And I think more schools will need and value an approach like this. And it's, quite frankly, the only way I can make sense of being a Division I college football coach. And that's who these kids are becoming.
And I worry a little bit about this because, whether or not it's atypical, I don't really care. Because if it works, it works. That's all that matters. It seems to have worked for the most part. Again, it's been a minute since Bronco has had a winning season, not since 2019. But if he's going to make it work, and it seemed like it was starting to work in New Mexico, But I do worry a little bit, like if he seems so focused on, it's a bunch of guys that used to play for him. I mean, if you're a good coach, then you have good players, and good players can become good coaches and all that.
Right, and you have a good coaching tree.
Yeah, and so he can end up creating his own great assistant coaches throughout his 17, 18 years. That's something that can happen. But we're like, are you limiting yourself? Because it's like you look at a high school, like a 3A high school tends to be worse than 5A because like they just have fewer guys to pick from. And it's that same principle. Like if you only have so many that you're picking from, guys that you used to play with or guys that you have a really deep connection to, like if those are the only guys you're willing to ever even take a chance on, it feels like he's limiting. But again, if it works, it works. But there's just a bit of a worry there, maybe a bit of a yellow flag-ish.
Yeah, there were guys on the staff under Nate Dreiling that I thought would have been great to keep, would have been great assets to continue to have, but he's clearly going in a different direction. And it's not because I don't believe that those guys aren't good enough. They weren't qualified enough. I think he's clearly coming in with this mentality. I want to do something very different here and have a full staff, top to bottom, who knows my vision, who understand how I operate. And so that when we hit the ground, we're hitting the ground running, and everybody understands it. Everybody from top to bottom understands what we're trying to accomplish. That was my biggest takeaway from that. Now, who they all are, still don't really know.
Yeah, we'll get
outside of Kevin McGivern, but who does have history here. Yeah, that's so still to be determined. I mean, it sounds nice. Like, this is very unique, but are they? What are the qualifications? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's really what matters. Can you effectively coach and have success on the field?
Yeah, it's how good are you? It's like when people talk about hiring guys local for athletic department positions, or finding someone with the connection to Utah for coaching positions. Like, I don't care where their connection is. I want to know how good they are. And are these assistant coaches going to be good? We'll find out. I can't really say. I don't know most of their names, and I don't know most of their histories if I knew their names. That's the important thing, is how good are they at their job. And every coach, like as far as cleaning house, that's not atypical at all. It's just what guys do. And I talk about like having connections to the guys who are your assistants, almost like it was kind of a negative thing, except that's what everyone does. It's just Broncos a little different, where it's like they all played for him, and so it's a kind of a different level of connection there. So it's like everyone always brings in the guys they know, because that's how the coaching world works. But eventually they do all get to know each other. So it's just like all coaches know each other.
Right.
So sometimes the pool is still wide, even if they talk about just knowing each other.
A couple other texts coming in. Another one from 8968 when I posed the question about accomplished coaches coming to Utah State. It says John Ralston was a fairly accomplished coach when he was hired, I think in 1959. He was also given one heck of a recruiting budget.
So Ralston was only an assistant coach over at USC. I think he might have only been like a linebackers coach. I think the most coaching was like he might have coached their JV team. So like accomplished, not really. Like well regarded, yes. Like the accounts of the time were they loved John Ralston, but like he wasn't like an accomplished coach as we're kind of lay out, because there are other guys who have been regarded that are hired by the Aggies, but they're not accomplished. I don't know if the nuance there, like as accomplished as getting a bunch of wins as a head coach and conference championships, whereas
bowl games.
Coordinators, they sometimes get credit for those accomplishments, but usually it's on a smaller scale.
Yeah. 5452 texting in. Bronco made it sound like he had his 15 assistants already. Do we have a list of these? Do we know who the DC is? I've not seen a list. Only one name confirmed today. There's some speculation. You can see some things online on social media.
Yeah, players have tagged coaches saying that they're getting offers from Utah State. They tag whoever would recruit them. And it's like somebody who isn't like confirmed.
Used to be on staff at New Mexico.
Yeah, so it's like I think there was one that tagged like one of the defensive lineman
defensive
coaches.
Line coach.
I think there's an assumption that the DC at New Mexico is going to be here. The OC, the offensive coordinator, obviously McGivern, Bronco dropped his name in this press conference, isn't hiding that, even though it's not been officially confirmed. But those will all be like officially named. So you're going to have a full list of names in the coming days. I haven't put together all of that yet. I've been busy putting together transfer portal lists. So
it's portal madness begins today.
Yeah, we've got a few names, but not the full list. But it seems like Bronco's just bringing his assistants over. So just go look at New Mexico staff, and you'll get like 80% of the idea.
Pretty good chunk. Before we go to timeout, a text here from 9315. The other day, the Utah State AD said it was donor and investor. What did she mean by investors for USU? I get the KVNU radio signal over here on the border by Kemmerer, Wyoming. In the day, longer in the summer, not as long in the winter, but it's way better than the spotty radio signal from the fan, even in Bear Lake. By Lake Town and Kemmerer, is there a way for you guys to fix it? Wintertime signal drops on the fan from spotty to nothing at 4:05 p.m. Wintertime, 5:30, 6:30 in the summer. Thanks for the heads up there, 9315. Yeah, I know.
We get the giant signal for KVNU. It's hard to get that for everyone else.
The KVNU signal has had some issues recently. They've been largely addressed, not fully addressed. They had made significant improvements on Friday, and they're hoping to get more improvements this week. There are some issues with the the KLGN signal for the fan on the AM that they're also working to address that will increase its power. So stay tuned, I guess is the best I could say. But at nighttime, nothing I can do about that.
Didn't help some
That's a AM thing. In winter, it gets darker earlier, and that is just that's an atmosphere thing that we can't do anything about.
All this wasn't helped by some numbnuts hitting a power cable.
Yeah, something like that. All right, we got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. More to get to, more of your reactions as well. Bronco Mendenhall, longtime BYU head coach, went to Virginia, coached there for 6 seasons, 1 season at New Mexico. Introduced formally today at USU to be the next head football coach. 435-339-0321.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
It's Christmas savings time at Daryl's Appliance. This is Jay with Daryl's. We have a holiday offer for you. Did you know Daryl's has scratch and dent appliances? For a limited time, save an extra 10% off on our scratch and dent appliances. Just mention this ad. Plus, get a free 2-year warranty on parts and repairs from Daryl's, west on Airport Road, open till 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
See Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
I'm Amy, and we have been coming up here for years. We love the Sportsman. We love the small town feel, great service, all the great quality of merchandise. It's been our tradition, and we love it and look forward to it every year. They do have other brands that are hard to find in Salt Lake. I see merchandise up here that I don't see down in Salt Lake. The Sportsman, there's nothing like it.
Welcome, friend, nice to see you again at the Sportsman.
On Main Street in the heart of downtown Logan with tons of free parking in the back.
Express your love for her this Christmas by presenting a piece of diamond jewelry from S.A. Needham Jewelers. Diamond jewelry makes a woman feel cherished. A pair of beautiful diamond earrings will add to the sparkle in her eyes. Adorned in diamond earrings, she'll feel elegant and appreciated. Choose from a large selection of quality diamond earrings, all specially priced for the holidays. With diamonds direct from Antwerp, Belgium, we offer our integrity price guarantee. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.A. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 4th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
You are the dancing queen.
Nothing better than a great song from 1976. Hi, this is Bob Larson with LSS Insurance, and I'm talking to you, graduating class of 76. Even if you're still working or getting ready to retire, Medicare is a conversation we need to have. Let us help you understand Medicare and all your options. Don't rely on TV ads or annoying phone calls. Having a local agent makes all the difference. Call LSS at 752-9493. Call 752-9493.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Our focus is always going to be creating and running winning programs. Why is that? Because that elevates the entire university and the entire community. We know that the culture that we have here, grounded in student success, is the right one. And I think you'll find that Bronco Mendenhall is the right guy for that approach. It's incredibly important to me that we elevate student success every single step of the way.
That was Utah State President Elizabeth Cantwell talking about how winning elevates the entire university.
Yeah, I mean, it elevates the community, puts the university on the map. I mean, university is part of the justification for spending these millions on athletic programs is because it gets people in the door to the university where they can squeeze more money out of them.
Often referred to as the front porch of the house.
Yep.
Maybe not the most important room in the house or feature of the house, but it's the most front facing.
That's what everyone
sees. That's what brings people in. Yeah. So, yeah, interesting comments from Elizabeth Cantwell today. 435-339-0321. If you want to have, if you want to add any other comments to the formal announcement today, 9315 still asking technical questions here to our radio signal.
These are the real questions we need to be asking.
Will the FM signal go farther? No. Nope. Again, it's very fixed with, according to FCC rules and geography, it is fixed. Can't do anything about that.
There's only so much you can do.
But you can stream online.
That's why we got the stream,
the app.
I know the app has its issues sometimes, but it's usually working.
Yeah. It is not restricted by geography. In fact, I was checking in with you guys when I was in Florida this last week, just checking in on the app, making sure you guys were on the air.
Not talking smack about you.
Yeah. I wasn't listening religiously, but I did check in from time to time. 435-339-0321. Utah State announcing Bronco Mendenhall as its next head coach. And there were a couple of interesting things that stood out to me today. And we've kind of touched on, assistant coaches. That was one of the big things. Another one to me was this extreme discipline that he talked about.
Extreme expectations.
Excuse me. Yes, and these standards that he wants to have. And I mean, extreme expectations, and it kind of sounded like I was at a press conference for the head coach at a service academy. It's kind of how it felt for some parts of it, and this is clearly a coach that has had success and wants to do things a certain way. And he is going to expect a lot from his players. And this is what he had to say about these extreme expectations that he will have on his players.
If they're influencing this community in a positive way, if they're becoming amazing young men for their families, if they're able to contribute in society with all kinds of memories of championship experiences here, that looks like success to me. There isn't anyone on the planet that will have higher expectations for our players than the greatest gift I can give is that of extreme expectations. Some say high, and that's not enough. Extreme expectations mean, Coach, how am I going to do that? And my normal answer is, I'll help you. In most institutions where I've been, it was the highest grade point average in school's history, followed by the most service hours in school's history, followed by the most success on the field in school history. Those things have happened at the same time.
Yeah, and academics has been a point of concern for Utah State in this football program. I don't know about being in the community has been a concern, but certainly the culture has been an issue. that has been widely publicized and discussed. But this is somebody that's going to ask a lot of his players, not just on the football field, but also how they do in the classroom and what they do in the community and the standards that they uphold.
Yeah, I don't know if it was done on purpose or not, but I mean, this is also why I talked about how the academic and discipline side may have attracted Bronco to this program, at least from Diana Sabo and Elizabeth Campbell's perspective, more so than his football success, because they've got the DOJ hanging over them. You had that whole letter where it was talking about all the different things that were supposedly going on behind the scenes, the way players and coaches weren't taking some of the things seriously they should have been taking seriously. The whole incident and how Blake Anderson's firing went down, the circumstances around that, and the fact that even before Anderson there have been issues and things like that, and academics on top of that, where it's kind of been glossed over, the fact that Utah State's academics in football have apparently been really bad.
Yeah,
to the point where the NCAA is sending letters like saying, "Hey, step up," or we're going to step in. And so all this stuff, you need a guy who's going to come in and right the ship. And maybe that's, if Bronco Mendenhall ends up going like 6-6 over the next 3-4 years, then who knows? But if at the same time going 6-6 like every single one of those years gets this program on the right in terms of culture and academics, then I guess he'll have done his job. Maybe a little overpaid, but I don't know. What price would you put on getting the DOJ off the university's back?
Yeah, fair.
$13 million roughly. Is that what it's worth?
That's the tag.
That's the price that's being paid for. Likely, at least that at a minimum. The football success, we're going to find out, because obviously there's my biggest concern with Bronco Mendenhall's hiring is, does he still got it? He has clearly been an excellent coach. There is no denying what he's done. I know some people have tried to downplay what he's done in Virginia, and I get that. Had a losing record at Virginia. Still went to an Orange Bowl, won a conference title, revived BYU's program after they went into a big slump after Lavelle Edwards left. He's a fantastic coach.
Multiple double-digit winning record seasons.
Yeah, he's got like 4 of them. And in like another 4, 5, 6, 8, or 9 win seasons on his record. The guy has been a walking 8-win season most of his time as a head coach.
Yeah.
But can he still do that? And that was my first question that I asked him. Was, all right, you've got a really good coaching record. What have you learned about the transfer portal and NIL? He ended up answering more about NIL. But it was interesting, at least hearing his approach and exactly how he felt about NIL and what his approach would ultimately be to, paying the players and maybe even ultimately, the revenue and all that side of it.
The way that the way I've chosen to approach NIL, it's with a very simple earned, not given mentality. And that means that players by performance, players by marks in the classroom, players by the way they train in the weight room, players by what their character is, that qualifies them for, a chance to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And whose name, image, and likeness isn't benefited more other than just football? If you're a football player and an amazing student, if you're an amazing person, all those things to me, which I think college football is missing, those all have value. I'm looking to acknowledge the entire person. What I found too is anything given up front usually diminishes its value over time. What I've learned is when someone sequentially has to chip away and work and chip away and work and chip away and work, but can qualify for increasing amounts, it's amazing to see their growth and development. The team sees it, and man, are they happy for whoever's qualifying for more.
Yeah, so interesting approach. I think we could probably look across college landscape, maybe even players here that were given things on the expectation and excitement about who they are and what they could bring to the table, but did they still match that in how they eventually still played as the season progressed? So interesting to see if he'll be able to pull this off. I like that mentality. I really do. And I think it's appropriate. And so will his idea of rewarding NIL opportunities based on merit, will that match what the donor class wants to do based on profile?
Well,
so it'll be interesting to see how those two sides meet. But at least in theory, I like what he's trying to set forth, and at least laying the groundwork of how he wants it to work.
Well, you're not going to find too many coaches, administrators, and even a lot of fans, and heck, even donors, they're going to think that plan is bad from a principled perspective. Sounds like it works perfectly well.
Yeah.
That's how you build culture, and that's how you make sure that nobody's upset about their NIL. You'll notice I did not include players when I said that. Not so much players already on the team, but recruits that you're trying to get out of the transfer portal. Because what we see so much right now is the recruiting pitch, and unfortunately sometimes coaches are lying through their teeth when they say this, but they're like, hey, we'll give you $100,000 if you come here. Well, our NIL will give you $100,000 if you come play for us. And a lot of times they don't follow through on that. It's happened a lot.
Right.
We've seen stories all over the place this year and last year. Like it's getting worse. Hey, Cooper Laga.
Right. It's
wasn't
happened
paid.
to former Aggies at different destinations.
It's like, and obviously Matthew Sluka, that was the big national headline, but it's happening in a bunch of different places where guys aren't getting paid. And so, and you can look at that and be like, yes, we're more principled and whatnot. But like, well, you didn't land that recruit. He's on somebody else's team. So can Bronco Mendenhall sell players on that when he's trying to get them out of the transfer portal? Now, I think it is possible because his selling point is going to be bet on yourself. And my goodness, does that resonate with players? Like how many players you can actually get? Like you wouldn't think you'd be able to get someone like, people always wonder, like, how do you recruit this player when you already have like an established starter at this position? Well, it's because the coach is selling, bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Like Spencer Petras came into the room with Cooper Laga and McKay Hillstead already on the roster. And I imagine the selling point was bet on yourself. Spencer Petras did. So, it's a selling point that I think he can pull off a lot, but there's going to be a lot of recruits that he doesn't get because they're offered a bunch of money to go somewhere else. Now, whether or not that's a good or bad thing, because Bronco talks about how his system isn't for everyone. His whole culture, he wasn't talking specifically about NIL when he said this, but his whole culture isn't for everyone. So, I don't know, is it better that he didn't get that player? I don't know. Talented players are talented players. There's this complex web of Bronco trying to have these high standards. Can he have these high standards and win football games? We've seen examples where it works perfectly, but we've also had plenty of teams throughout history that do not have great culture and do not have great discipline and win a lot of football games. And I'm not going to name any names, but Georgia knows exactly who they are.
Well, I know that the Blue A Collective, I don't know all the inner workings of it, but I know that there are certain benchmarks that when these athletes stay, their financial opportunities grow when they reach certain benchmarks as far as the time that that they stick around. They stay here past this portal window. Then there's different things that happen to them. They stay here through spring. There's another disbursement. So, but also one thing that was interesting, you kind of alluded to this, was Bronco kind of made it clear that like if you're on the team, you're either with us or you're not. There is no neutral ground with him as the head coach.
This current team, they didn't choose me. They'll have a chance to choose me over the upcoming months. But let's face it, they weren't the ones that chose. And so that relationship will grow and develop and become. And ultimately, the relationships formed will be outstanding. I believe in the power of choice and enabling young people the power of choice. The expectations for the program will be so clear and so transparent and so consistent with fierce accountability that really it doesn't allow anyone to remain neutral. You're with us or you're not.
Yeah, it's nice to see him acknowledge the whole thing of like, look, players didn't choose him.
Yeah.
Not a single one of those players chose to play for Bronco Mendenhall. But as he said, they're going to have that chance. What's interesting is that a couple of players whose names I saw saying I'm entering the transfer portal have since deleted their tweets and posts saying they were entering the transfer portal. One of them being Ike Larson. The other is an offensive lineman who started just about every game for the Aggies. So I don't know if that means anything, But we're going to find out pretty quickly, or maybe not pretty quickly with some of these players, but maybe they'll commit to staying and whatnot. But
well, and I always, I don't begrudge any player when there's a coaching change to take advantage of the opportunity to explore their options because they didn't come here for that coach. That coach did not recruit them. And there's uncertainty with this new staff about how they may use this player and his skill sets. But I also think it's important for those players to at least give the new staff a chance, to at least visit with them and share their vision for what they want to do and accomplish. And if those don't align, that's fine. No one should be upset that a player decides to leave when there's a coaching change. But I do appreciate players who give new coaches a chance. And I think that they should be lauded for that.
Yeah. It's a tricky situation because on the one hand, you think, okay, they should wait. But on the other hand, a lot of these guys are trying to get out into the portal as soon as possible because they want to find a landing spot. Like a week or two could be the difference between them getting a new school and not. Because several of the players that enter the transfer portal are guys that, are they going to find a landing spot? Are they not? A lot of the guys for the Aggies actually are probably guys you can expect to find a landing spot, and so you'd hope that they'd wait a little bit. But there's plenty of guys who jump into the portal because they're not sure that they're going to end up somewhere. But they, you'd also think like maybe give the new coach a chance because if you enter the portal, coach don't have to take you back. So it is a risk. It's a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Just depends on how good at math those guys are.
That's true. A couple of more texts coming in on the Full Court Press text line. 3714. Hislop here. Oh, there we go. Our good friend Craig Hislop.
There we go.
No head football coach, came to Utah State with 18 years of experience as a head coach. I believe John Ralston was an assistant at Cal when he was named at USU. Phil Kruger had been the head coach at Fresno State for 2 years or so and always an assistant with McKay at USC. Blake Anderson was 7 years at Arkansas State, might be near the top of the list of experience before taking over at USU. Chuck Shelton had been the head coach at Drake for a few years, but they dropped the program, so he came to USU. Mick Dennehy had a good run as a head coach at Montana, but not 18 years. Dave Arslanian had a few years at Weber State as head coach. John L. Smith had a few years of head coach in Idaho before USU, but not 18 years.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't, there haven't been too many coaches who are like fairly long-term. I don't know if I'd call 7 years long-term for Blake Anderson, but like him and Gary had both been for the better part of a decade, but like Division I, established, but like how many of them actually were like an FBS coach? And granted, once you go back into the 50s and 60s, I'm not sure what the heck FBS was and how that all got defined, but because you have Weber State and some of these others. Drake, were they ever FBS? I know they said the program's been dropped, but
I have no idea.
Idaho,
don't think so.
I think Idaho was FBS, and then they went to FCS. So
correct. They used to be in the same conference as the Aggies.
Yeah.
And then
Montana used to be in the same conference.
Arslanian was 53-47 in 9 years as head coach at Weber State.
That's not too far off. I think what Blake Anderson had done roughly at Arkansas State, a little above 500, but obviously a couple less years at Arkansas State.
8968. The academics on the football team have been an issue since I've been following them. One Football in the past put to a reporter years ago, do you want great scholars or do you want a good football team?
Yeah, the thing is you're not going to get a bunch of nerds and a bunch of guys who are really good at football. Otherwise, Harvard would have a good football team. They've had, I think, one player ever, or I think, I was reading about this. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was like one of their first, if not their only ever football player in the NFL from Harvard.
Well, Stanford has high academic standards.
It's true.
Produced a lot of talent.
But I mean, heck, lately, ever since the farther we've gotten from that more pure amateurism, the worse Stanford has gotten.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true.
Their last great years were, which of the Harbaughs was at Stanford? I forget.
Yeah.
One of them. And it was pretty good there. But then they've not been nearly the same. So it's tricky. But the thing is, you don't need scholars. You just need guys who are at least paying attention in the classroom and at least trying. I know sometimes I make jokes about how many guys walk down on senior day and they graduate in interdisciplinary studies. But, get guys who are, if they're studying kinesiology or, coaching management or, if they're trying to elevate themselves and, have a career post-football. Like, be that in sports or sometimes they're going into business or whatever. You're not going to find too many engineers on the Utah State football program, but at least get guys who are trying to have academics. Because for Utah State, a lot of their football players are still, they're not going pro. They're not going to the NFL. They're not going to the XFL or whatever they're calling it these days. They're going to do something post Utah State. And you got to find guys who are, one, for NCAA eligibility. You got to make sure that you're not, ticking them off.
Yeah.
But it also helps if you're actually putting guys in a good spot academic-wise and teaching them that. Because a lot of these players, they come in. That's why there's so many players transferring, because they don't know what the heck they're doing. They're 18-year-olds who are being told you can make 6-7-figure salaries if you're good at football, and so they keep transferring, hoping the next place is the one that gives them that giant salary. So you got to put them on the right path, and that's going to be Bronco Mendenhall's job. Blake Anderson, I don't know if he was trying or not, but he wasn't succeeding very well in doing that. He was caught off guard as much as anyone else in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
But they've got to find a way to at least make it work. You got to at least pretend that you're playing school as well as playing football.
That's true. We got to take a timeout. More time for you to weigh in. 435-339-0321. Bronco Mendenhall officially introduced today as the next head coach for the Utah State football team.
Advanced Heating and AC, the gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah, is teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you with the best furnace units available. And now is the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and AC and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 752-7272. Stop by their showroom west of DI. Online, advancedheating-ac.com.
This is Justin Hamilton, and all of us at Cafe Sabor wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday. For the entire month of December, with every $25 gift card purchase, you will receive a $5 card for free. Great food. It's the perfect gift for family, friends, or coworkers. Purchase a $25 gift card and get $5 additional for free. Happy holidays from all of us at Cafe Sabor.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagoner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
It's back. Jarek's Fine Jewelry in Logan is having our annual Pick a Pearl event. If you've attended this in the past, you know how much fun we have. And if you haven't come before, you don't want to miss this exciting event. For only $10, pick your oyster, open it that day, or save it for that stocking stuffer surprise. Mark your calendar, Friday and Saturday, December 13th and 14th. Pick a Pearl at Jarek's Fine Jewelry, 930 North Main. Look for the bright green cars.
Les Olson IT structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
As the year comes to a close, we at Aegis Healthcare want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude.
To our incredible staff, thank you for your dedication, hard work, and passion. You make everything we do possible.
To our wonderful community, thank you for your trust and support. You're the reason we continue to grow and thrive.
This holiday season, we wish you and your loved ones joy, peace, and warmth. Here's to cherished moments in a bright new year ahead.
Happy holidays from all of us at Aegis Healthcare. We look forward to serving you in the year to come.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
We needed someone at Utah State for our football program who would elevate our competitive excellence, who would prioritize our academic success, and who would engage as good stewards in our community. Bronco Mendenhall emerged as that leader.
That's Diana Sabo when she was introducing Bronco Mendenhall to a full house on the third floor of the West Stadium
Center, I think is what they call it.
Officially called.
I never knew what the official names of all those places were, but it's in the West. It's at the stadium, and it's roughly in the center between the north and south end of the field.
Yeah, it's middle. Yeah, it's a big room. Great views of the valley.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bronco Mendenhall officially introduced today, 435-339-0321. If anybody wants to chime in, 6521 texting in. Good point on entering portal at the beginning. I believe J.D. Drew already received an offer from Washington State.
Yeah. And you can get some pretty good offers. If teams are trying to jump on the portal wagon early, then you'll be the first name they see. You'll be the best name they see.
Right.
And if you're the best name they see, they'll go after you. They'll offer you. And if you accept that offer really quickly, then they don't have time to go out and get somebody else. There is the risk that you'll eventually get recruited over and you'll be stuck in a spot that maybe you didn't want to be in. But you know what? There's a risk in entering the transfer portal, and you got to kind of take it.
Yeah. One other moment that was fun today in the press conference that got the crowd going was Bronco Mendenhall, prompted by a question by our good friend Craig Hislop, talking about why he never played at BYU, even though he had strong family connections to BYU.
Yeah, his brother and father both played at BYU. His brother went on to be an NFL player and Super Bowl champion. But Bronco never got that chance.
They didn't want me. My dad played at Brigham Young University. My brother Matt played at Brigham Young University, second-round draft pick there. I played at Snow Junior College, a little bit of a late developer. We won a national championship there. I just kind of assumed that then BYU would be interested. They weren't. And so this reflects my mature. I don't know if I've ever told this story out loud. Well, I'm going to, and I don't know how this is going to go. But so we just won a national championship at Snow Junior College. It's clear that I'm not going to be recruited by Brigham Young University. And I then looked at the offers that I had and looked at their schedules. My college choice was predicated on which of the schools remaining had BYU on their schedule. Short-sighted, I know, maybe supported by this group, but short-sighted. Went to Oregon State University. Of my remaining choices, they were the only team that had BYU scheduled. We arrived in Provo, beat BYU when I was at Oregon State. Wow, this is a big deal, isn't it? I was on the 50-yard line on the Y doing like a snow angel on the grass. I don't know, maybe to prove that I was capable to them, maybe. Who would have guessed I would have been the head coach there after that? Now I've told the story. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, a fun story that definitely played to the audience. But wanted to stick it to BYU a little bit.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of Aggies can relate with, is wanting to stick it to BYU. Of course, Bronco eventually, I guess, gets the last laugh because he's now the savior of BYU football in the 21st century.
Yeah, went there as a defensive coordinator from New Mexico under Gary Croton's staff, then gets elevated to be the head coach and was there for quite a while before eventually leaving for Virginia.
Yep. Very, very, there's a lot you could say about his tenure at BYU. A lot of good things he did. 9-5 on the text line saying Bronco top 25 coach nationally. I probably wouldn't say that.
I don't know that I'd say that.
At one point in his career, he was.
Yes.
Right now, no, because, his last winning season was 2019. Can you say you're a top 25 coach now if you haven't had a winning season? I know he wasn't a coach for 2 of those years. But, if it's been 5 years since you had a winning season, you don't get to say you're a top 25 coach nationally. As far as legacy, I don't know how many coaches have been. How many coaches have 140
wins? Or at least
wins?
active head coaches.
Yeah, active head coaches. I don't know. You can do that dance and maybe, could I pick out 25 coaches that are better than Bronco? Maybe, probably. My gut feeling is that he's a good coach. He's pretty, fairly far removed from his best success. But as long as he's able to learn things like the transfer portal and be able to adapt to this current environment, there's no reason to expect that he can't be that same coach again. Because, he's not dead and buried. He can be a good coach.
Right. Yeah, and he's still got years left in front of him where he could still be an effective coach.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for him to be an effective coach as long as he has the energy and the willingness to learn. Don't be stubborn in your own ways. Learn this new landscape, and it seems like he's trying. He's developed something. So as long as he's willing to learn and does learn, then he'll be fine.
Still time for you to weigh in. We'll get to more comments next hour. We'll also talk about Utah State basketball. Are they ranked? Are they receiving votes? How are the Aggies in the Mountain West? Next.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Major League Baseball's no stranger to record-breaking contracts. 24 years ago, Alex Rodriguez signed with the Rangers, $250 million. Last season, do-it-all superstar Shohei Ohtani signed with the Dodgers, $700 million. And yesterday, the Mets officially won the Juan Soto sweepstakes. The contract is worth over $750 million. Like any other sport, baseball contracts have continued to grow with every passing year. But when it comes to the contracts of Ohtani and Soto, these new deals should be treated as exceptions, not the future of baseball. Ohtani's a unicorn with MVP ability at the plate as well as Cy Young ability on the mound. Soto comes into free agency, 5 MVP nominations at just 26 years of age. Those types of players rarely hit the open market. So although it may look like baseball contracts are starting to skyrocket, the reality is these two superstars found themselves in a perfect storm. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.